many instances, of course, you can arrive at rational solutions through logic and reasoning. But the dream reflects deep unconscious processes and brings an emotional impact that is often lacking while you are awake. For example, William Dement, a prominent sleep and dream researcher, once smoked up to 2 packs of cigarettes each day. His attempts to stop smoking had been unsuccessful. One night he had a dream in which he was looking at an ominous shadow in his chest X-ray, realizing that the entire right lung was infiltrated. A physical examination revealed that the cancer was inoperable. He experienced deep emotional anguish, feeling that his life was at an end and that he would not be around to see his children grow up. Dement later stated, "I will never forget the surprise, joy, and exquisite relief of waking up. I felt I was reborn." Needless to say, the experience was sufficient to induce an immediate cessation of my cigarette habit. The dream had both anticipated the problem and solved it in a way that may be a dream's unique privilege. Dement agrees with those researchers who believe that a function of dreaming may be to allow dreamers to experience their alternative courses of action and to make a more informed choice. Let us review what you have learned so far. But first, remember that you will need to adapt these lessons in developing your own step-by-step procedure for working with dreams. In part, this procedure will depend upon the time you have available. Just remember that the more intensely you work with a dream, the more meaning you will be able to obtain from it. Begin by observing the pre-sleep procedures for remembering your dreams, writing down a few notes if you recall a dream in the middle of the night. In the morning, record your dream as completely as you can in your dream notebook. If you recall only a feeling or a mood, write it down. If you only recall a thought or a word or an image, write it down. Do not interpret the dream as you record it in your dream notebook. Your first priority is to capture as much of the living experience of the dream as you can. Drawings may help. If you draw your dream images, be aware that you may be portraying potential symbols to which you will return. Use the first person present tense to intensify the dream's living experience. Write down, "I am in a castle," not "Mary was in a castle." If there is any part of the dream that is not clear, close your eyes and imagine that you are back in your dream. Greater clarity might emerge that will help you complete your write-up of the dream. Review the 8 content items to determine if you have left out anything. Sometimes people omit the emotion in the dream, but this might be the most important clue as to the dream's meaning. Look at the dreams from the previous nights to see if the content is the same or different. If you have a home computer, you can store your dreams on a disk and can easily review past dreams to see if a specific word has repeated itself. You can begin to create your own dream dictionary. A queen may represent a mother figure for one dreamer, the world's spoiled elite class for another dreamer, and overly rigid emotional control for a third. For this reason, you need to be skeptical of commercial dream dictionaries that only offer one possible interpretation for each dream image. Develop the proper attitude for dream work. When you pay attention to your dreams, they will usually return the compliment and reward you with insights. Recording your dreams is one way to demonstrate the sincerity of your intention. Another is to remain steadfast, providing sufficient time for the recording and interpretation of the dreams you remember. Retelling your dream in an abstract manner helps you to determine the metaphorical nature of the dream. Making associations to puzzling images will help you to understand dream symbols. If an occasional dream baffles you, do not be discouraged. Even Carl Jung admitted that he found some dreams impossible to interpret. But if the dream had an important message for you, it will occur again, perhaps in a more accessible form. Analyze the structure of your dream. Examine the dream for points where there are sudden changes of activity or emotion. These are usually the most significant parts of a dream. Identify the main character in the dream. If it is not you, does it represent a part of you? You might retell the dream as a fairy tale. This will help you to identify the beginning, middle, and end of the dream. Retell the dream from the vantage point of an important content item. For example, you might say, "I am a turtle slowly making my way across the swamp." Are you, in your waking life, slowly working your way through a relationship or a task that is miring you down like a swamp? carry on a dialogue with your dream elements. If there is a stranger in your dream, give him or her a posture and a voice. Sit on a different chair in your room and speak as if you were the stranger or any other unusual item of dream content. You might even write a page or two up of dream dialogue, or draw it as if it were a comic strip. Look at yourself in the mirror while you are playing the role of a dream character. What changes do you notice as you shift from the dream character back to yourself? Exaggerate your gestures, emotions, and vocal tone during the dialogue. Ask why it appeared in your dream, what it has to teach you. Does the dialogue remind you of any life issues or significant people or situations in your past or present? Make a personal connection with the feeling tone in the dream. Allow it to carry you back to an earlier experience where you had the same or similar feeling. Compare the real-life experience with the dream experience. How were they the same? Was something going on in your life then that is emotionally connected with something taking place in your dream? Find a related life issue for the moods and feelings expressed in your dream. Is there a common theme running through these dreams? Be aware of the role played by bias in dream work. People often read their conscious wishes and desires into a dream as well as their unconscious wishes and desires. Consider at least two possible interpretations for important dreams to keep from deceiving yourself. The meaning you discover in a dream is to a large extent the meaning that you project into your dream. So make sure that these projections reflect the reality of the world around you as accurately as possible. Remember that symbols and metaphors can refer to your interpersonal life or your intrapersonal life. In other words, they can refer to something going on between you and other people, or something going on between different aspects of your own psyche. Some dreams can reflect the culture in which you live, in that they portray important community, national, or international events about which you have a strong opinion. And a few dreams are spiritual or transpersonal, in that they reflect your point of view about the nature of existence, about God, or about the afterlife. Whenever you feel you have reached a block in dream work, ask your most puzzling dream character or object, what are you doing in this dream? What do you think of the other people and objects in your dream? What advice do you have for people in the dream? You might want to close your eyes and pretend that you are back in the dream to get the most out of this exercise. And you might simply want to make a list of definitions that will help you to zero in on that puzzling dream item. You might summarize the dream's meaning by giving the dream a title. What would be an appropriate name for the dream if it were a short story, if it were a movie, if it were a newspaper story? Can you summarize the meaning of the dream in one sentence? Can you think of a concrete action to take in your life to test the lesson from the dream? A few people become overwhelmed by dream work and decide that they cannot cope with the material that emerges from these activities. If this applies to you, it would be wise to seek professional counseling before you continue with dream work. At the very least, find a trusted friend to talk to, or shift from individual dream work to working with a partner or with a group. If you are interested in advanced techniques for dream working, you might try dream incubation or lucid dreaming. Or you might try working with anomalous dreams or spiritual dreams. Attaining these skills is easy for some dreamers, but somewhat harder for others. Don't be disappointed if the process is difficult for you, as your regular dreams will provide you with more than enough material with which to work. Before you go to sleep, review the elements of a personal dilemma, a task you have been unable to complete, or a project on which your progress has been blocked. Use as many methods as you can to prepare yourself for the dream. Read any material you have that is pertinent to the task. Write a concise statement about your problem in your dream notebook. Speak out loud as you consider alternative solutions to the problem. Draw diagrams and pictures that illustrate the problem. Feel any emotions that arise when you consider the issue that you are facing. In the morning, review your dreams to determine whether any of them relate to the problem you incubated. If you do not recall a dream, approach your task again. You may be surprised to discover that a solution is now available that was not apparent before your incubation exercise. In other words, you may have arrived at the solution during the night, but simply forgot the dream. In this case, it does not matter because you have obtained a possible solution you can evaluate and consider. Be sure to select a night for dream incubation when you are not overly tired and when you have taken no alcohol or drugs. Dreaming can be inhibited by both stimulant and depressive drugs, as well as by alcoholic beverages. Also, select an issue that you are totally willing to explore. Otherwise, you will have little incentive to dream about it. Be aware of your biases when you work with the dream. Self-deception must be avoided, or you may project into your dream an answer that you have decided upon in advance. It is true that some dreams are wish-fulfilling in nature, but these dreams point out our unrealistic desires, often with humor and exaggeration. Anomalous or psychic dreams appear to reach across space and time to provide us with information or insights. They are called anomalous because they seem to preclude the ordinary space and time constraints that govern ordinary events and behavior. Some of the words that have been used to describe the anomalous nature of these dreams are telepathy, in which we appear to dream about someone else's thoughts, clairvoyance, in which we seem to dream about a distant event, and precognition, in which we appear to dream about the future. Maybelle dreamed that she visited her Aunt Hilda in a hospital, even though Hilda appeared to be in good health at the time of the dream. But a few weeks later, Hilda was hospitalized following a stroke, and Maybelle found herself acting out the behavior foreseen in the dream. Was the dream precognitive or coincidental? Most likely it was neither. Maybelle may have noticed her aunt's skin color undergo a change. Her speech began to slur and her manner of walking began to slow down. Unconsciously, Maybelle may have matched this information with what she knew about other people who fell ill, and a dream could have resulted which prepared her for the emergency. Not all anomalous dreams deal with death or illness. In the late 1920s, an American stockbroker dreamed that a man appeared at his door trying to sell him a radio. Someone had put poison on his doorknob and urged the stockbroker to touch it. The man awakened in a cold sweat. Later, he took the dream to Edgar Cayce, a well-known American psychic sensitive. Cayce interpreted the poison in the dream as a warning that the stockbroker should, to quote Cayce, refrain from investing in stocks, bonds, or anything pertaining to radio work for the next 16 to 20 days. The 1929 Wall Street crash took place a few weeks later. The stockbroker had failed to take Cayce's advice and lost everything. Other anomalous dreams have been reported in which a parent or spouse dreams that a loved one is in danger at the same time that he or she is in an accident. There are also dreams on record that appear to contain information that assists the dreamer to find a lost legal document or supply of money. These reports are all provocative but must be viewed with some skepticism. Not only might they be coincidental, but they may reflect distortions of memory, forgotten sensory clues, or even deliberate falsification. Remember that we all have the proclivity to deceive ourselves. It is likely that most so-called psychic dreams can be explained in ordinary ways. My colleagues and I studied anomalous dreams at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York for several years. Our experiments indicated that some people were able to dream about future events or hidden pictures with a great deal of accuracy. For example, one of our experimental subjects was asked to attempt to dream about a picture that would be selected from a large collection of postcards after he had awakened. One night he dreamed about a mental patient who was trying to escape a doctor in a concrete building but only got as far as the archway. The postcard that was selected at random by someone who knew nothing about the dreams the following morning after the dreamer woke up was a reproduction of Van Gogh's famous painting of a lone figure in the corridor of a mental institution. The subject's dreams consistently matched the pictures chosen the next morning on almost every night of this experiment. Some of our subjects were studied in other laboratories. At times, they were able to repeat their performance, and at other times they were not. As a result, we cannot say that anomalous dreams have been demonstrated with any degree of certainty. All of these experiments have been described in our book, Dream Telepathy, available from McFarland Publishers in Jefferson, North Carolina. More work needs to be done before anyone can make conclusive statements about this provocative topic. In the meantime, your dream notebook will help you to determine whether any of your dreams may have been anomalous. If you think that you have dreamed about a future or a distant event, you will be able to compare waking life events with the dream content. Some of the subjects in our experiments told us that their anomalous dreams contained unfamiliar colors or unusual emotions. You might ask yourself if your anomalous dreams were characterized by out-of-the-ordinary feelings, colors, or other dream content. If so, these characteristics may help you to identify other potentially anomalous dreams and to pay closer attention to them. Sometimes people have dreams that they believe transport them into sacred experience, those aspects of one's existence considered to be most hallowed, holy, and spiritual. In fact, dreams have played a major role in religious traditions throughout the world. Queen Maya, mother of the Buddha, had a dream in which a white elephant with 6 tusks entered her womb, indicating that she would give birth to an infant son who would become universally renowned. American Indian medicine men and medicine women often were called to their profession by ancestors who appeared to them in their dreams. The Jewish Talmud makes 217 references to dreams, and the Old Testament of the Bible contains about 15 dreams. For example, Joseph attained eminence by interpreting the dreams of an Egyptian pharaoh. Muhammad, the founder of Islam, claimed to have received his mission in a dream. In the New Testament, the Magi from the East were warned in a dream to return home by another route so that King Herod would not be able to ask them the whereabouts of the baby Jesus. Ming was a member of a dream group that used Ullman and Zimmerman's dream-working techniques. Ming told this group about a dream that contained what she thought might be spiritual elements. In the dream, Ming had survived an atomic bomb explosion and began seeking refuge. She headed toward a church, but when nearing it, heard a variety of evil voices coming from within. Ming bypassed the church and continued on her lonely way. Glenn, a member of the dream group, said, "If this were my dream, I would relate it to the way that I survived the explosions in my family. The traditional institutions of my childhood stood for values I considered destructive, and so I set out to find my own way in life." Janet, on the other hand, told the group, "If this were my dream, it would warn me against becoming associated with cults and other dogmatic religious groups that claim to be spiritual but that do more harm than good." Johanna, another member of Ming's dream group, said, "If this were my dream, I would relate it to my concern about the fate of the planet and how most so-called good people, by ignoring the threat, are making the problem worse." After each group member treated the dream as his or her own, they discussed each image separately: the explosion, the church, the evil voices. At the end of the process, Ming discussed her own interpretation of the dream and how each person's comments had been helpful to her. Ullman and Zimmerman have stated how their work with dream groups has made them aware of the transpersonal or spiritual dimensions of dreaming, and of the need people have to communicate with others at the level of intimacy and honesty that characterizes group dream working. Rita was bothered by dreams in which a young girl made fun of her.
In one dream, I was trying to make a deadline at work, and the young girl ran through the office with a paint can, spraying paint on important documents. When I worked with my dream, I realized that the young girl was part of myself that yearned to play and to enjoy life.
Rita's job was very demanding, and over the years, she had lost the joyful, spontaneous outlook on life she had as a child. Rita closed her eyes and imagined that she was talking with the mischievous girl, promising her that more attention would be paid to her needs in the future. Edgar Cayce felt that dreams could represent physical conditions, past experiences, problems that need to be addressed, or spiritual forces. Cayce advised dreamers to make a firm decision about topics on which they needed guidance before going to sleep. This decision, Cayce felt, directs awareness during sleep and helps to focus the dreamer's response. Cayce also felt that prayer, meditation, and spiritual attunement could be helpful procedures to enhance dream recall and clarity. William Seacrest had studied with Cayce and decided to ask his dreams for guidance in regard to the best location for an automobile rental venture. In his dream, the city of Houston, Texas was recommended. Seacrest asked for the reason and recalled 3 images: a star, a gushing water faucet, and a family on a houseboat. Sechrist interpreted these images to indicate that Houston would become the star of the South, with ample water and increasing importance as a vacation center. Sechrist moved to Houston and established a successful business there. Sechrist's ability to ask a question in his dream is typical of those dreams in which dreamers take an active role in the dream process. When a dreamer realizes that he or she is dreaming, the dream is considered to be lucid. Sigmund Freud wrote about his own lucid dreams as well as those of his patients. Stephen LaBerge, in his book Lucid Dreaming, gives instructions on how people can learn to dream lucidly. Both LaBerge and I have found that many people can prepare themselves to have lucid dreams. For example, some individuals frequently dream about food. During the day, these people might ask themselves, "Am I dreaming?" whenever they have anything to eat. Of course, they will answer, "No, I'm not dreaming." But eventually they will have a dream about food. They will usually remember to ask themselves, "Am I dreaming?" But this time the answer will be positive. At this point, they can try to use the dream for problem solving, for self-healing, or to practice something they would like to do when awake. There is a case on record of a physician who discovered in a dream how to tie a difficult surgical knot. In another case, a hockey player improved her skills in a lucid dream. The physicist Elizabeth Rauscher told me that she had a lucid dream in which she was able to formulate a solution to one of Einstein's field equations, later publishing the results in a physics journal. Lucid dreaming is not for everyone. Some people reject the notion of tampering with the spontaneity of their dream life. Others lack the motivation or interest usually needed to dream lucidly. Others do not recall their dreams frequently enough to know if the lucid dream suggestions have worked. Even those people who advocate lucid dreaming say it is not unusual to go for months without having a lucid dream. However, the knowledge that such a phenomenon is possible should encourage individuals who have selected this way to facilitate creative problem solving in their dreams. Just do not be disappointed if it doesn't work for you. Lucid dreaming is one of the many exciting research frontiers in today's dream psychology. At the University of California in San Diego, volunteer subjects have been given a drug that stimulates dreaming shortly after they go to sleep instead of waiting for 90 minutes. Another drug has been used to delay dream periods of subjects suffering from deep depression. Their depressed moods seem to be reduced if they can sleep for several hours without dreaming at all. At the Harvard Medical School, researchers have demonstrated that certain groups of brain cells become increasingly excitable as the night's first period of dreaming approaches. When these cells start to fire during wakefulness, they appear to induce such physical movements as walking or running. During periods of dreaming, one's rapid eye movements can be noted, but the connections that govern movements of the arms and legs are cut off. Instead, the firing of these nerve cells stimulates internal activity. The brain forms images and stories as it tries to make sense of the sensations produced by this internal firing activity. Even though the firing of these nerve cells may be random, the Harvard scientists do not believe that dream content is random. Instead, it may reflect the dreamer's style of thinking and feeling. In addition, it may express the dreamer's problems as well as the issues he or she faces during waking life. Finally, dream scenes may reflect the coping strategies that the dreamer uses during wakefulness. If the Harvard researchers are correct, we should not expect every dream to be equally important, nor should we expect every element in the dream to make sense. It is quite likely that our brain can't always come up with a perfect image to match the internal sensations produced by the firing activity of the cells. As a result, some bizarre dream content probably has little to do with our waking lives. However, there are more than enough dreams for us to work with that do hold problem-solving potential. Indeed, creative problem-solving is urgently needed in today's world at the personal, family, community, and international levels. Dreams emerge from the deepest part of our psyches and provide an opportunity for creative expression to be given to the most basic murmurings of the human spirit. A world in peril, just as an individual in distress, yearns for healing from whatever source it might be available. Dreams are easily evoked, and are always ready to serve dreamers, their society, and their world. It is up to us to work with them and to appreciate their gifts and treasures. And I wish you the best of luck in your own personal dream exploration and dream working.